We're going to start today at the Memorial Garden flower bed for our tour. I want to start here today because I want to say, despite it being the end of November, it is looking particularly lovely. I have done some dismantling to this bed a little bit, shifting some things around, digging up some things to put elsewhere, but despite all of that, it is still looking pretty good. Now, I want to preface this video by saying I didn't do any cleanup. I didn't prune anything back. I didn't even mow the lawn. I am just going to give you a tour as the garden looks today. I'm going to mow this lawn on Thursday because I'm leaving on a trip on Sunday. And I want to get as much work done in the yard as possible. I want to start here because I think this garden is looking especially lovely for September. Meaning it's the end of September. Today is September 25th, and I believe it's one of the prettiest views this garden has looked. The dahlias are looking lovely. The roses are putting on a beautiful show at the moment, and everything is just growing in nicely. So let's start here. This weeping cherry tree is looking good. May need to do a little pruning on it. I have a rose campion that's actually blooming here. One of the prettiest old-fashioned flowers. One of my senior garden friends gave that to me. She is suffering from Alzheimer's now, and so I treasure all the plants in my garden from her, Miss Carolyn. And we're going to get to Miss Carolyn's garden, and then there's a Miss Cynthia's garden, and those are my two senior garden buddies. This Angelonia has been a nice addition to the garden this year, and I plan on adding more each year. I love how they accent the garden. Now, since we were here last, I moved my two ivory halo dogwoods into this bed and removed the mock orange plants that were here to the back flower bed. So when we get there, I'll show you. This coleus is still looking beautiful, and I'm going to be taking cuttings today to put in water to attempt to overwinter them. The armadillo, who I have been fighting this whole season, was here last night and dug there. I caught a glimpse of him, but by the time I put my robe on and went outside, it was cool, he was gone, and I was not able to find him. He went down into the woods. Anyway, this Coreopterus, or this bluebeard, is looking lovely. This one little portion here had some dieback. I'm just leaving it to see if it'll sprout. The leaves have died, so we'll see what happens. This Earth Angel Roses has a couple more blooms that are coming in, but it has bloomed ferociously all season long. And this one too. Now, it's a Thomas Edison dahlia. These are Calvin floodlights. These were a gift from a friend of mine on Instagram. Y'all, this is what this stupid armadillo does. You see how it dug this plant out the ground and threw it on the floor. I've got to come back through when I'm done filming this video to replant it, but it does that. I don't know if you remember one of the tours I did. The last tour I did, I had these beautiful echinacea. It has dug every last one up, and I don't think any of them will survive next year. So anyway, these are beautiful roses, and they're doing extremely well. There's some beautiful agastache. And look at this Sundria brocade dahlia here. I'll take a look when we get closer to it. These roses are playing out, but the smell of them is heavenly. And when they were at their height, this Bolero rose here was also at its peak, and the two together is very, very, very intoxicating. There is a Cornell bronze dahlia here, but the storm that we had that came through took it out, and so I don't expect any more blooms. Well, there are a few buds on here. Maybe I'll get a couple blooms before our frost, but I'll be gone. So, and I want to give shout out to these wave petunias. They've been holding it down all season long. I have dismantled these flower pots in that I've taken the Artemisia that was in here and planted them in the landscape there and here. And then I've also taken the dahlias that were in here out, and in a next video coming up, I'll show you where I planted those. These were also given to me by an Instagram friend. Aren't they pretty? This is a type of gladiola. I'll put the name on the screen for you. I think they're very, very pretty. They add a lot to the fall garden because they bloom later in the season than everything else does. Of course, my girl, Sweet Mademoiselle, is showing out. Look at all her blooms. She's just looking lovely. She's gotten a little top heavy though, so I'm going to come in and whack her back. Just absolutely darling. And she smells heavenly as well. So I had some more of that gladiolus in this bed and I dug it up. I also had another crinum lily there and I dug it up and transplanted it elsewhere. I know the fountain is low on water. I'm actually going to drain it before I leave. So I'm not wanting to refill it. I'm going to drain it, cover it over with a trash bag, heavy duty contractor bag, and then wrap it with a moving blanket to keep it for the winter months. So yeah, I'm going to order a fountain cover off of Amazon, but not there yet. I also want to take a couple cuttings from these different coleuses in this pot. That's why I haven't fully ripped everything out, but I started dismantling these so that when I came back, I can do my fall planting. I don't want to plant them and leave that as something else for my brother-in-law to look after while I'm gone, because my mother-in-law and brother-in-law will be here to take care of my husband while I am out of the country visiting my dad. So let's continue. You can see here again where the armadillo has been digging. It just loves it over here. So here is this Sandria brocade dahlia. Isn't that lovely? Gorgeous. And here's another Bolero rose. It's loaded up. This is Princess Charlene de Monaco, which is a little played out, but she was beautiful. I have Sweet Rose of Mine there, which just finished blooming and has two more buds on there, I see. Bolero, Bolero, Moonlight Romantica, Cream Veranda, Earth Angel, Sweet Mademoiselle, Sweet Mademoiselle, Sweet Mademoiselle, Earth Angel, Cream Veranda, Bolero. These unknown peach roses that I ordered pink, and they sent me peach, but I think the peach worked with this bed better anyway, so I'm not complaining. Bolero, Princess Charlene de Monaco, and Sweet Rose of Mine. So that's all the roses that are in here. And then I have two charisma roses that bloom these fluorescent orange colors, and I'll post that. This bloom was so heavy that it broke. Calvin floodlight. So, so pretty. Look at how pretty this is paired together in an arrangement. So lovely. Look at my mishap lantana, y'all. Look at that. That thing is humongous. Look at how wide and how tall it is. It's almost as tall as the roof. Just makes no sense. And every year it does it. I cut it back, way back. Those are acorns that the squirrels are dropping. I'm sorry. But every year I cut it back, and every year it looks like this. Last month we started here. Flocks are still going. The 4 o'clocks are still going. This hydrangea, this hibiscus has been beaten up by the worms, and I have not sprayed it. That's why it looks so terrible. Got to take a piece of this coleus as well. And the mums over here are getting ready to bloom. Since the last video, I've also cleaned up the topiaries, and they're looking good. And these salvias are just going nonstop. Here's another Thomas Edison dahlia getting ready to bloom. And over here is some aster. Isn't that a pretty color? More asters that have seen better days. The spider lilies are up and doing their thing. They have such a vibrant color. I see that these asters are getting played out. And if you look right over there, you'll see that I have an Asiatic lily that's blooming out of turn, but it's because they had some on clearance and I ended up purchasing them and adding them to the garden, and they're still going to bloom. Here's some zinnias that I planted late. Need to water this. I'm almost afraid to water anything because of an armadillo problem that I'm having. It tends to dig up whatever I water the night after I water it. More of those spider lilies. I planted a peony here. This is a Fun in the Sun rose. It was looking so beautiful. I'll insert a picture of what it looked like a few days ago. This is Autumn Joy sedum. Look at this color, how beautiful it is. It's just gorgeous. I've planted a lot of new things. It's dug up most of those things, but it should be pretty come spring. This is a red drift rose, putting out some new color, and I'll take you on a look back up the road. Looking just as lovely. It's new this year. This is a dappled willow that I transplanted out of the memory garden. I planted this in memory of my nephew who passed away 2 years ago. And it's doing well. It rebounded after being transplanted. Look at this Autumn Joy sedum, and I've cut pieces off of it and transplanted it elsewhere, and I'm going to do that again. Not much happening in this bed. That Dahlia is just doing its thing. It's beautiful. This pot I need to pull out today, and I'll insert a picture of the pots on the patio because they are looking lovely still, but I'll show you when they were in the peak what they look like. I recently transplanted my ginkgo tree because this thuja here, it's a amber gold thuja, is yellow, and it picks up off the sunshine ligustrum over there, as well as the sunshine ligustrum here. And then I recently planted my ginkgo here. Look at the beautiful color on it. And it seems to like it better here than where I had it previously. Okay, everyone, we are up at the flower beds that surround my office. And at this time, there's really not much blooming up here, so I know that's something I'm going to have to work on next year with the addition of some echinacea, some Shasta daisy, some asters, some anemones, things that bloom later in the season. I mean, the things that are up here are looking quite lush, but there's really not much color. I am going to be replacing this type of salvia with a different variety because this one has gotten so large that it's shading out some of the plants that I do want to keep. I love this cryptomeria. I love, love, love how nice and round it has gotten. And there's another one there. This is a cafe au lait dahlia, and she's been cranking out the blooms. This is one that's passed over. My Peggy Martin rose has taken off, and over the winter months I'm going to work on a trellising system to get it up and across my porch. I'm going to paint this beam white so that it will, disappear, and then wrap the canes around it and across. That's the plan for Miss Peggy. I've also placed all my houseplants back in my office for the winter, and I need to cut back these Asiatic lily bloom stems, but that'll happen after the first frost. Here is another dahlia, and I will look up the name and tell you what it is. It's gorgeous. Very, very pretty. My lemon cypress has grown about 6 inches this year, and these lamb's ears are doing really well. I'm going to actually split them and put them in another bed. That's how I got one plant from my friend Louisa, and now I have them everywhere around this garden bed, this flower bed. The long border has some, and just in general. This bed, the color in it is mostly gone over, but I wanted to show you this rose. This is my all-time favorite rose in my garden, this one and Sweet Mademoiselle. This is Crazy Love, and when all three of these buds are open looking like this, it is absolutely stunning. And then in the spring, I have it behind this quick fire. Something is eating the buds on my rose, and I don't know what it is. Anyway, I have it in front of this quick fire, and it looks really, really pretty with that hydrangea back there. The salvias are beginning to die back for the winter, and the armadillo has been busy in this bed digging. I added some veronica to this bed, and then the pittosporum is looking quite lovely. So is that Forever Goldie arborvitae. That's all that's going on in this bed. This is a Moto dahlia. You can see it over there. This is Echinacea purpurea. It's gone over. I'm going to let it drop its seeds and put babies so next year I can transplant those elsewhere. And that is a Pugster blue. So, so pretty. It's a Buddleia from Proven Winners. This is a Ivory Halo dogwood. It's a native plant, but I love it for the variegated foliage and the contrasting red stems in the winter months. And again, not much else is blooming in this garden. This clematis I had in the long front border. I'm going to actually plant it in ground and let it go up this shepherd's hook because I'm not doing hanging baskets on them, and just let it run up. And then I'm going to take the obelisk that it sits on and put this rose on it. So that should work. And I'll probably do that when I return. The last bed is the back border. And I spent some time today working on the end portion of it behind me. Let me show you. You can see our leaves are starting to fall off the trees. And our roses back here are giving a nice flush also. There is not much happening down here, so I'm going to turn around and take you back this way. This is a rose that is pink and white in the same rose. It is a sweet as well as a white drift rose. That's a pink knockout rose. Here's more of that sweet pink. This is this Kaleidoscope Opal by Cortez Rose. Thank you so much for joining me today as we took a tour of the summer garden in the month of September. As we head towards fall, I am so grateful to have as many blooms as I currently do. If you've enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing. As always, happy gardening.